So Carlin, the Bodysex documentary, I have watched it numerous times. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So give us some background. Tell us how that came to be.
Well, it was interesting. I was trying to get Betty to do workshops, and she didn't want to do them again. I guess, she was kind of 2 decades. You stop doing something, you kind of don't want to go back and do it again. And it made me feel like you lost some muscle memory. So I thought, how can I back into this? And one day we were watching Self Loving. And I said, this is such a great, you know, uh, piece that we have of a body sex workshop, but you shot it in the 80s on a handheld VHS camcorder.
Mhm.
Why don't we shoot it in high def so that we can save it for the ages? And I knew it would appeal to her sense as an
Mhm.
artist of legacy. She's like, yeah, that would be a good idea.
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe she said yes.
Mhm.
And then she said, but I'm not paying for it.
Ah.
Meaning like the business wouldn't pay for it.
Right.
And I thought, well, this would be interesting. We'll crowdsource because then people have a vested interest and they want to see the film come out. And it also puts our head in the news and we got to get it done.
Yes.
So we raised $25,000.
Mhm.
God, we shot it in 2013, right? 2011?
Well, it came out in 2011. So
Oh,
either early,
2011,
yeah.
probably
Mhm.
2010 we shot. Oh my God. I can't believe it. And then it was like, well, who's going to be in the circle?
Mhm.
Right? You need bodies.
Right.
Um, So I thought I'll put a call out, and we had several women that I had never met that were blogging for us.
Mhm.
So I put a call out and I said, we're doing this. It's a documentary. So it's not a paid, we didn't want adult performers.
Right.
We wanted real women with real stories. So I put out the call and I said, we'll pay for your travel and we'll put you up in New York. And we'll all be together. And I think, of course, they're going to be with Betty Dodson.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not hard. So Leandra came from Australia.
Mhm.
And one by one, everyone popped in. What was interesting is I didn't cast, like, I didn't know what everyone looked like.
Mhm.
And I didn't ask to see their vulvas, like take a vulva portrait. So we kind of didn't know who was going to be in the room,
Mhm. And it
which
was
is,
perfect. It was perfect. Yes.
and then I had to sell Sheila because Sheila
Uh-huh.
was like, I don't know if I want to be on camera. And I'm like, Sheila, you have to be there. You were there with Betty doing this work. I want you in the circle. I want to collect the stories. And it was really nice because Sheila and Betty reconnected and we had some great times. So everyone comes and they're all different.
Mhm.
And here's where, the goddess provides. When we did Gentle Show and Tell, at the end, Betty looked at me and said, we have every vulva style.
Ah, yeah.
And we didn't know that going in.
Mhm.
And that was how that, and remember, we're filming with a crew of all women. We're in Betty's living room and we had women with cameras on the ground on their bellies, like shooting up at us.
Mhm.
Um, and we wanted to shoot it from beginning to end without like taking cuts or without scripting things.
Mhm.
So here and there, you might get some wobbly camera work, but for us, that felt more authentic.
Mhm.
So we all had a real body sex experience.
Mhm.
And when we did Erotic Recess, I mean, it was just amazing. Marisa had a crygasm.
Yes.
Sayaka has a queef
Mhm.
orgasm, which a lot of women have shame about. It was perfect. Davina on the ground with her
Yes.
pressure orgasm. Right? I mean,
Mhm.
each of us were so different.
Right.
And it was such a great time between takes.
Mhm.
It was just we went out to dinner every night and we had breakfast every morning, and the women were living half at Betty's, half at my apartment.
Mhm.
And you kinda didn't want it to end.
Yeah. No, you get that. I get that feeling from watching it is that you bonded just so completely. And it was because of that documentary that you and Betty started doing workshops.
Because once we put it out,
Mhm.
right, and it was really great. I got a compliment. I forget who was someone, in the community just said, "Thank you for capturing Betty's work because it was the best produced piece ever. And that's what I want to do. I wanted to capture that feeling of body sex. And then you knew what to expect. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. And all of a sudden we kept on getting emails from,
Mhm.
you get a couple of thousand emails from people that want to take a workshop.
Right.
And one day I went into Betty's and I'm sitting there and I have my little sandwich and I sit down to eat lunch. She said, we could do workshops again.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to act too surprised
Yeah.
because then she'd change her mind.
Mhm.
And she's like, well, as long as you do all the work.
Mhm.
She said, I'll lead them, but I'm not doing enrollment and I'm not setting up the room and I'm not getting the snacks and not doing anything interacting with the women until they're in the circle.
Mhm.
And then I'll do everything else.
Mhm.
And then you'll clean up.
Yes. That documentary is such an amazing it was so meaningful to me. I had already signed up, to take a workshop, with you and Betty in New York, and then I watched the documentary because I thought, like, I need to prepare myself. Like, what did I get myself into? And it was just so beautiful. I watched it a couple of times before my first circle. I watched it after my first circle because it's a way of connecting with
Mhm.
that energy that's generated in the circle. And really, I show the documentary a lot. I show it to women who are thinking about taking a circle with me, and just women that are interested in the work that may never take a circle. And I think you can gain so much from just watching the circle, watching genital show and tell, watching erotic recess, listening to the wisdom of Betty. That this is
Mhm.
definitely a keeper. It's definitely a rewatch kind of documentary. So kudos for making it happen. Yeah.
Oh, it was a labor of love because Betty Wood didn't make it easy. And I understand now because she hadn't been running workshops for 20 years and
Hmm.
now she's going to do one in front of the camera. And she told me afterwards that when she first sat down, her mind went completely blank.
Mm.
And she said, and then I just took a deep breath and then it was there.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that was Betty's, I think, greatest talent is her
Mm.
ability to put herself in a situation and just let it happen.
Hmm.
And she also made me take her for a spray tan before.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, she was watching Toddlers and Tiaras, and so, like, a week before we were shooting, she's like, "I'm not getting naked on camera unless I get a spray tan." And I thought, "Okay, I'm taking you for the spray tan because 'cause you're not gonna be orange on camera." And
Right.
I just remember going and I told the woman, I said, "Just, give her a light tan. Don't make
Hmm.
her crispy. Don't make her
Yeah.
Cheeto." Oh, and then she every night she was angry about all the equipment and her
Mm.
space, and she would ride me hard. But we got some wonderful interviews
Hmm.
and moments, like reading her now speech. Um,
Yes.
it's it was such a great time and it was so magical. And I have extra footage on a
Hmm.
hard drive. I have all of the raw footage, and I'm thinking of maybe for an anniversary, kind of recutting it and re-releasing it because there's so much more there. And it was all those women
Hmm.
trusted us,
Yes. Yeah. It
and
was a
I will.
big ask. It was definitely a big ask, but I think just the benefit of it is heard round the world, really and truly, and the fact that it started workshops again, phenomenal.
No, it kept body sex alive,
Mhm.
and that was Betty's greatest artwork because she, in her journal, said, "Body sex is
Mhm.
my new art form,"
Mhm.
and it is, and it doesn't have to be Betty or me in the circle leading. It can be
Mhm.
anyone, and
Yeah.
that's what you're here to learn. There's
Mhm.
something quite profound, and Betty always felt that she divined body
Yes.
sex. She didn't create it.
Right. So, watch the documentary, even if you've seen it before, watch it again with new eyes. Every time I watch it, I pick up something different from it, and enjoy.